بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, we're passing through the blessed month of Ramadan, and now we have entered the second 10 days. So the second, now in the middle of Ramadan, and in the middle of Ramadan the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned وَأَوْسَطُهُ مَغْفِرَةً, that the middle of Ramadan is where there the forgiveness, where the maghfirah of Allah Ta'ala is acquired. Also in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned يُغْفَرُ لَهُمْ فِي آخِرِ لَيْلِهِ, that a person in the month of Ramadan is forgiven during the last part of Ramadan, the last night of Ramadan. قِيلَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ أَهِيَ لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ قَالَ لَا وَلَكِنَّ الْعَامِلَ إِنَّمَا يُوَفَّى أَجْرُهُ إِذَا قَضَى عَمَلَهُ. So then the Sahaba asked, they said, "Oh Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is this last night, is this Laylatul Qadr? Is this the night of power?" So our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied by, "No, it's not the night of power. I mean, the last night of Ramadan is not the night of power. Rather, a worker, he's given his wages in full when he completes his work." So in other words, according to this narration, forgiveness is granted on the final night of Ramadan. And because of this great favor, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum thought that this being forgiven on the last night of Ramadan, this must mean that it's Laylatul Qadr. And they knew the great blessings of that night, and accordingly asked, like we already mentioned, whether it meant Laylatul Qadr. So obviously our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that no, it's not Laylatul Qadr, but this is merely the favor granted for people who have given Ramadan its due importance, and right up until the end of this blessed month. There's also, like Allah Ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran, "Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr," that it was on this night of power, it was in the night of Laylatul Qadr that Allah Ta'ala revealed the Quran. And it's very important to ponder over this, that Allah Ta'ala, like we mentioned already, that our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has emphasized his ummah to say La ilaha illallah, the kalima, and istighfar and astaghfirullah in abundance during this month. Now if you think carefully, the Quran, what is it? What is the Quran? The Quran Sharif, the beginning of this revelation, the beginning of it began in the month of Ramadan, and it began in the night of power, in Laylatul Qadr. And this signifies the start, and this signifies a beginning, and a method where a person can now have a direct contact and a direct means to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence, what is the fundamental teaching of the Quran? The Quran was revealed for people in order to say La ilaha illallah, in order for the entire world, the entire earth, the entire mankind to adopt Allah Ta'ala as their Lord and take Him as one and say La ilaha illallah. Hence our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is mentioned that say this in abundance, say the kalima La ilaha illallah in the month of Ramadan. There's great reward in this. By saying La ilaha illallah, this gives us a reminder that this is the purpose of the Quran, the main purpose, to propagate the Tawheed and the oneness of Allah Ta'ala and to connect to Allah Ta'ala. On the other hand, our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also mentioned that say istighfar Allah. Why is he saying istighfar at the same time as well? So it's possible that this is a very blessed month, and it was in this month, in one of the nights, that the Quran Sharif was revealed. Now, upon the Quran being revealed, the mission of the Quran was to propagate the oneness of Allah Ta'ala, was to bring La ilaha illallah onto the tongue of mankind. However, after bringing it on, or for example, once a person has accepted and a person has become a Muslim, it's very, very possible one has not valued the kalima the way it's meant to be. One has not appreciated the kalima how it's meant to be. And one has not obeyed Allah Ta'ala the way Allah Ta'ala is meant to be obeyed. Hence, for this reason, the person should say istighfar, istighfar, astaghfirullah, 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 to compensate for any shortcomings, to compensate for any losses which we may have done. So may Allah Ta'ala gives us tawfiq, inshallah Ta'ala, to value the kalima la ilaha illallah, and to value this month, and to realize and understand what this month stands for. That it was in this month that the Quran began to be revealed, and it was in this month that all Muslims could use the Quran as a means to connect directly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this is something which we as Muslims, we fail to understand and we fail to appreciate. Hence, we're encouraged to say istighfar in abundance, inshallah ta'ala. So to say both la ilaha illallah and to also say astaghfirullah, they go hand in hand. So may Allah Ta'ala gives us tawfiq to act upon what's been said, inshallah ta'ala, and may Allah Ta'ala overlook our shortcomings, inshallah. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.